You probably clicked this video because you want to get better at League of Legends. Or maybe you're just tired of pretending to understand what people mean when they say tempo or prio on Reddit. Either way, this video breaks down 15 of the most important terms and concepts used in high-level play. Think of it as your shortcut to understanding how pros actually talk about the game. If you find this kind of content useful, let me know in the comments and I'll make a part 2. I'm Bach, a professional League of Legends coach with international experience. I've worked with everyone from former LCS and LEC players all the way to complete beginners, and this channel is all about helping you get 0.1% better every day, in-game and in real life. If you like improvement-based educational content, drop a sub, and let's get back to the video. Here are the terms that we're going to be covering today. As I mentioned, there are 15 of them. Let's not waste any time, starting with the first one, open. When you hear somebody refer to an open, what they're talking about is leaving your base, how you open the map. So how you open, though, is determined by your tempo, your team comp's win conditions, and your objectives. If you're up in tempo, you might want to open on multiple lanes because it gives you the ability to move first. We'll talk more about tempo later. If you have a certain comp that revolves around maybe team fighting, this might change how you open. You might open as a group. If you win by split pushing or by 1-3-1ing, you might open 1-3-1 or 4-1. And then finally, if there's a specific objective you're playing for, wouldn't make sense to open up all top lane if you were playing for a dragon spawn in the next 30 seconds, right? But now we know what open is. So an example, blue team opens 5 mid to A-ram it in A style, the classic NA A-ram. 5 point, one you might all be familiar with, but an extremely important concept. A 5 point is holding space on the 5 entry points of the map. 1, 2, 3. I mean, this is technically 2 here, right? 4, 5. It's a good default way to start the game. If you're not really sure what to do, 5 pointing can be a safe option, but it's not good in every single scenario. For example, this is the scenario that I have right here. Red team is 5 pointing, but they're into a champion who pressures very hard level 1, like a Blitzcrank. But this could also be a Bard or a Braum or a Pike. Our friendly red team AD carry here is about to have a really bad time because the 5 point does provide information, but you're lacking the numbers advantage, so a formation like this can easily be compromised if the enemy decides to send multiple people at you and you're not playing in a spot where you can run away easily. Turns. If you've watched my other content before, you know I love me some turns. So a turn is just being able to move first. You can use this movement to do any number of things, but the important quality is the enemy cannot respond without losing something. So in the example we look at, Ahri crashes 2 waves mid into Veigar and now has time to make a play roaming bot. And Ahri has a turn here. So she's using the turn to roam bot, but she could also use this turn to reset. She could use it to harass Veigar. She could use it to invade and get Raptor Vision. She could do anything with it. The important part is Veigar has to make a choice. Veigar can move immediately, but loses minions, or Veigar can clear the wave, but then loses time in following Ahri. Either way, Ahri has agency here, and that's what defines a turn. Ammo. Ammo is the way that we maintain our ability to take a turn in the future. By taking a turn now and moving, we are giving the enemy a chance to respond after they clear the wave, but by not moving ourselves, we can repeat the process of generating a turn by shoving the next wave until we need to take our turn. So for example here, in the last slide, Ahri pushed and then roamed. Well, what happens if Ahri pushes and then fogs here and then immediately plays the next wave? So when Ahri has push mid, but our jungler is soloing dragon, we don't want to push the Veigar in mid necessarily and then move. We want to stay mid, keep Veigar from rotating, let our jungler solo dragon, and just maintain the pressure. And then when we do need to generate our turn in this scenario, we can use it for something else. Prio. This is something that we all might know about, but it's essentially the ability to generate turns on demand. For example, usually using a range or wave clear advantage, you get push on the wave, you generate your prio, and some champions can sacrifice their resources. Like most champions have to sacrifice mana, but some champions can sacrifice both HP and mana, even in losing matchups, to generate prio. For example, in extreme scenarios, the Ornn and Darius matchup, Ornn can sacrifice a significant amount of his HP to get prio by just full comboing the wave. Ornn can dump ult into the wave, like Q, W, ult, and then E out, and get prio that way. Another common way that you might see somebody generating prio is the Rumble ult classic. Rumble walks in a lane and just ults the wave, and sure, he's down an ult, but he gets the first push, and he clears the wave first, which gives him the ability to move. So very, particular scenario, but an example of generating prio. Round. So a round is when you leave your base until you return to base. Essentially, it's the time your team spends on the map. Most importantly, this is a team concept. So as a team, you want your round to result in something tangible that moves you toward winning the game. For example, the most obvious round, the one that happens every game no matter what, is the game starts and the jungler full clears, and usually there's some sort of scuttle crab or gank or small skirmish at around 3 minutes and 30 seconds because the jungler's camps are all going to be dead. They're not going to have anything to do, so they're going to gank mid, they're going to gank bot, they're going to fight the enemy jungler for scuttle crab, and then they're going to reset. That's one round, but you have a clear timeline of the start to finish and what ends that round. And there's as many rounds in the game as there is time in the game. For example, after that first round, you have your second round where the jungler's going to, in this scenario, he started topside and path into bot. So where is his camp's going to spawn? Back at topside. So now the jungler can say, in my second round, I want to 3 camp into cover top or dive top, or I want to full clear into take dragon with bot lane push. The important part is doing something with your round. And how do we do something with our round? We have a plan. So a plan is what we do with each of our rounds. A round without a plan is just 5 people playing solo queue. Every game people leave the base, every game people get turns, every game people reset or, gank, but having a plan, having an idea, a goal that we move towards gives our round a focus and tells us what we do with our turns. So for example, a dragon spawns at 5 minutes. We want to play the dragon. How are we going to do it? Well, by using our turns, by having a goal for our round, by generating prio when we need to. It is a bit more complicated than that, but this is the step 1 of setting up some sort of idea instead of just like, hey guys, like, let's play dragon. How? I don't know. Let's just show up and see what happens. That's the solo queue classic. Tempo's a good one because it's thrown around a lot, but oftentimes it's misused. So when I use tempo, I'm specifically talking about it being on the map before your opponent. Why this is important is it results in the ability to be proactive with lower risk because you have numbers advantage plays. For example, we push every lane deep and then we reset so we're on the map before our opponents. Because we push the waves deep, we reset. Now the enemy still has to contend with the waves that we push deep. Our minion waves have further to travel, which gives us more time. So now we're already reset. We spent our gold. We're on the map again, and the enemy is still just finishing clearing our waves. So if they want to be on the same item spikes or same HP conditions or same mana as us, they're going to need a reset, which takes time, which means that we are reserving the ability to be first, which means we get another play out on the map and they have to choose between dropping waves or letting us do what we want and then reacting slower. Catching. In regards to tempo, catching is where on the map you catch the wave. If you're catching low, you're catching closer to your nexus. If you're catching neutral, it's usually in the middle of the lane. If you're catching high, it's closer to the enemy's nexus. In this example, if Aphelios is looking to catch this next wave, he can either catch it high, low, or neutral. There are scenarios where each can be useful. In the scenario we just spoke about, this is the minion wave coming in right now. If Aphelios is able to catch this wave high, that is more time that he's getting himself, right? Because the next minion wave has to go further for it to be cleared. If he catches it down here, it's still completely fine. This is safer a lot of the time. You need much more vision to catch up here, but the trade-off for catching the wave safer is you don't get as much time or tempo for yourself going into the next round. Catching second is just being the player or team responding to the enemy's wave push. When the enemy has tempo or turns, you will still get your turn. Like, you're not just at their mercy indefinitely, but you are catching second, so you will be delayed. In that example around turns I used earlier, this is like a great way to visualize it from the other side. So here, Ornn and Ahri have already pushed mid and are moving top lane. You can tell by my wonderful drawings. So we, the Caitlyn and the Veigar, have to catch second and deal with the wave before we can move, unless we want to give up these resources. So communicating that, hey, we're catching second, they move first, will let our team know that we're going to be either slow or we can make the call that it's not worth it to catch this wave and we need to just immediately move. So we can match the Ornn and the Ahri here. Leaning. This is a concept for laning, but it's essentially just moving to a side of the lane. You can lean for 2 reasons. You can lean for safety, for example, and let's pretend the Kha'Zix isn't here. The Victor can move to this side, the bottom side of the lane, if he has vision here. You want to lean to the side of the lane where you have vision because this vision provides you safety. You can also lean to the side of the lane that your jungler's at if your jungler is not going to be ganking mid, so that way he also provides you safety. Conversely, you can also lean to set up ganks. In this scenario, Victor is leaning bot lane because When one champion leans to one side of the lane, the other champion gets pushed to the other side of the lane to block or dodge skill shots or avoid giving too much like range to like the opponent in the matchup. But because Victor leans this way, it forces Hui top side of the lane, closer to the Kha'Zix, which makes him easier to be ganked. Fogging. Essentially, this is just sitting in Fog of War. It's a great way to either fake reset or generate pressure, either in your lane or a side lane, and to keep the enemy focused on you. The best way to illustrate this is if you've ever played into an assassin like Katarina or Fizz, Talon, Zed, anytime they go out of your vision, alarm bells should be ringing. You're like, oh my god, I really hope my bot lane doesn't die here. But Talon doesn't actually have to move anywhere. Talon can just push the wave, have no intention of roaming, and just sit in this brush right here, but the enemy bot lane and you mid lane have to act or have to respond like he is moving. So this creates pressure for the entire bot side of the map, and Talon is almost completely safe and can do what we said before, which is maintain his ammo, right? And pushes, fogs, pushes, fogs, pushes, fogs. And then one time he can commit to a roam when it's actually like really good for him, like, and everybody's wave state is beneficial for him to roam, and set himself up for a very winning game state. So don't feel like every time you push you have to hard commit to a roam. You can still fog. Linking and connecting, it's literally in the name. It's just how to connect with your team. This is really common in solo queue where there's no communication, but sometimes you want to push waves before you go to the objective. Like maybe there's a bunch of minions bot lane, but your team is mid lane, and there's an objective that we want to contest. It's really bad a lot of the times if we try and contest in a dangerous area or like a contested area where both teams are trying to play for vision or play for control. So if I'm the Ashe and the Braum here, we want to make sure that if we connect in front of Dragon, it's because we have control over the important areas. But our first thing here is we went bot lane to catch the wave. We're playing for this objective, and we want to make sure that we're connecting in a way that's safe and not just trying to pincer it from both sides, because then we lose the ability to have numbers advantage in a fight. Shifting. Shifting is just moving pressure from one lane to another. It can be one lane over, or it can be multiple lanes. You can do like a 3-lane shift. So in this example, Talon pressures mid, creating a turn, and then shifts bot to kill Ashe or Braum. You can use this shifting concept in combination with fogging to make sure that you have like an insane amount of pressure in your games. The concave. This is a bit more of an advanced topic, but this is used in competitive mostly, but it's also a concept that you can use in your solo queue games. The idea is to spread in a semicircle-ish, I say semicircle-ish formation because it doesn't have to be a perfect semicircle, to avoid stacking. By spreading out, you're able to get a different angle than the rest of your team / carries, but you're also avoiding enemy threats. It's the same concept as if you played attack shooter or like an FPS. When you're holding an angle, you never want to double up on an angle, or sorry, most of the time you never want to double up on an angle. You want to hold a crossfire or hold a different angle than your teammate, so you're not going to get collateraled, right? You don't want some guy to peek you with the op or running spray you down and kill both of your teammates in one spray without them having to move your cursor. Same thing in this example. In this top example here, we're not concaving. Jinx and Ori are standing on top of each other, and even the support's close enough where he might get caught up in the collateral here. The top laner and jungle are kind of playing their space, but because Jinx and Orianna are stacked, they can hit the J4, but J4 can also space both of their damage by just moving up. But also, the Jinx and the Orianna are under threat by the J4 together, and J4 presses R, Rumble presses R, and now both carries are dead instantly. So a better way to play this could potentially be Orianna playing the top side of the concave or the semicircle, and Jinx playing on the bottom side of the semicircle, which still allows both of them to hit the Jarvan, but now Jarvan has to kind of choose which target he wants to go under. And now if Jarvan goes on the Ori, Jinx can free hit essentially and is not under threat, and vice versa, right?